Pickle, the college football weekend has come and gone. Week 3 of the college football weekend. That doesn't make any sense. Season. And one team got what feels like a very important win. And here to talk about it is the host of The Green Room on the Republic of Football Podcast Network, our North Texas podcast. It's our friend Matthew Brune. Matthew, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's good to talk about a win, like you said. Big win this weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this would be a very different conversation if Saturday didn't go the way that it worked. North Texas pulls out, goes to Ruston, gets a 40-37 win over Louisiana Tech to get their first win of the Eric Morris era. I sat in my room as a non-North Texas grad, just a guy who kind of covers them, and thought that feels like a really big win for North Texas. Did it feel like a big win for North Texas to you and kind of the North Texas Illuminati writ large?
Yeah, I know you have a great North Texas representation over there. But yeah, we went into this game saying this was pretty much for better or worse. I mean, the season to a degree. The only hope of them getting to 4 or 5 wins, I think, hinged on this game. They had to show that they were willing to go to Chandler Rogers at quarterback and have some consistency on both sides of the ball. And on the road against Louisiana Tech, who Louisiana Tech's not a great team, but Louisiana Tech did beat FIU, who just beat North Texas. So coming off the FIU game where you were 10-point favorites and you lose like that, this was kind of a make or break game, and they almost choked it away at the end. Gave up an onside kick and then a touchdown and sent it to overtime. But they pulled it out. I'm sorry, not overtime. They won at the buzzer. But yeah, it felt like the game never ended.
This was, a lot of the talk around Denton has been around the quarterback situation. You mentioned that Stone Earl started the first 2 games, both losses, and then this past week they turned to Chandler Rogers. I know you've been locked in on every snap of North Texas this year because of your hosting of the Green Room on the Republic of Football Podcast Network. What, for those who haven't watched every snap, what is, from your perspective, the biggest difference between what we saw from the quarterback play in the first 2 games and what we saw on Saturday?
Yeah, Chandler Rogers is just an extremely more comfortable quarterback. You see the starting experience. For those who don't know, he came over. He was a starter at Louisiana Monroe last year, the past 2 years, and he really made that team competitive in a Sun Belt that, as we know, is very talented. So he went into games with less talent, and oftentimes, if you go watch his game against Texas last year, I thought he was really, really good. So we knew what we were getting out of him coming to North Texas. That's why it was so surprising when Stone Earl won the job, and it seems like won the job really just in fall camp in those first 3 weeks. Stone Earl was on the team last year, was second or third string, really was just a wildcat quarterback type. Obviously, he stays with the coaching change, but he's not nearly as smooth of a passer. I don't think he sees the field as well. He can run, but Chandler Rogers can run as well. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense, and it still doesn't make a ton of sense how Stone Earl won the job. Even media that's on site every single practice or press conference didn't really understand it. So, you take the loss against FIU and Cal, but it seems like they've figured it out, and Chandler Rogers is good to go now.
Talking with Matthew Brune, the host of the Green Room on the Republic of Football Podcast Network, talking a little North Texas football here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, the hashtag TF Today. On this offense, I want to stick on the offense here for just a moment. Is there somebody on this offense that has surprised you, that maybe you didn't think was going to be such an important part of this offense so far, but has stepped up? Is there somebody that springs to mind?
I don't know if there's been a surprise. We knew coming in Jamori Macklin at receiver and Rod Burns, like those 2 receivers would be their top players. And so that's been pretty much how it's gone. Now with Chandler Rogers, they've been able to get the ball to more players. Trey Cleveland, the transfer from Texas Tech, Damon Ward, returner. Those guys have gotten a few more catches. And at running back, we all know about the running back stable they have with Adai and Attaway and Johnson and guys like that. So I don't know if there's been a surprise. Really, the quarterback position has been the position with really the only turnover if you look at it from last year. Obviously, Jair Shorter ends up going to Auburn, and they lose a couple tight ends in the portal as well. But everybody else is pretty much a returning player, so it's been largely hinged on the quarterback position. But I think the receiver room has proved over the past couple weeks that they're also formidable.
There is an elephant in the room about North Texas, and it is on the defensive side. This is a team that has allowed 543 yards per game. That is the most in FBS. This is a team that is allowing 47 points a game. That is the most in FBS. Certainly, Cal is a Power 5 team, certainly, and a team that I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot of shame in that. But these last two games, giving up 46 to FIU and then 37 to Louisiana Tech, what is the level of concern right now about this North Texas defense?
It's incredibly high, I'd say. It's very, very high. And the funny thing is, through one quarter of Louisiana Tech, it seemed like they'd kind of figured it out. They went to more of a four-man front, which really helped them stopping the run, which through two games was the Achilles heel far and away, them not being able to stop the run. FIU and Cal both just ran all over them. So they went to a four-man front. That helped against Louisiana Tech. And then as the game wore on, they kind of reverted back to what they were the first 2 weeks. Cal started figuring some stuff out. But, I mean, they go into the fourth quarter against Louisiana Tech, only have given up 14 points. Mm-hmm. And then the wheels just kind of fell off, and Louisiana Tech got Smoke Harris free and some other guys scored 23 points in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I think they're starting to figure some things out. It's a new coaching staff, as is the case with any new coaching staff. It's like you're going to learn and you're going to figure out what works with this personnel and what doesn't. This is a new defensive coordinator, new defense. I don't know if it really fits the personnel they have, but they're going to figure it out, and we'll see. I think they at least learned something in that Louisiana Tech game. I think they took away some positives.
And finally, looking forward to the schedule. Again, an open date this week before they welcome in Abilene Christian. Theoretically, it should be 2-2 coming out of that. Right now, where you sit, coming off of an exhilarating win on the road at Louisiana Tech and heading into next week, a game against an FCS opponent in Abilene Christian, before you really get into the meat of American Athletic Conference play, what is your reasonable expectation for how the rest of this North Texas season should play out, as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, if we give them a win against Abilene Christian, I know Abilene Christian is definitely not a bad team. Hung with Incarnate Word this past week. You get into the AAC, and the first two games, I think we'll know a lot about this North Texas team and how they fare in conference, with Navy on the road and Temple at home. Two games where I'm not sure if they'll be favored. They'll probably be underdogs in both games, but I think two games where they're going to be competitive, and we'll have to see. I think they need to pull one of those out, Navy and Temple, because after that you get to what we've dubbed the stretch of death, which is Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and SMU. And I don't feel like at this moment they're going to win any of those, but who knows? UTSA hasn't looked great. Memphis just struggled with Navy. So, but yeah, I think the first two games are pivotal, and then at the end of the season they end it with Tulsa and UAB, who, like I said, I think if you get one of those games, I think UAB has been really down. So I would look at it right now as my reasonable expectation is 4 wins. I think there's a shot that can get to 5. I do think that FIU loss just really comes back to hurt them by the end of the year, though. If you win that game, I think we're looking at this season in a different lens of potentially, getting to 6 wins instead of the ceiling being kind of at 5.
He is Matthew Brune. He is the host of the Green Room on the Republican Football Podcast Network, and, by the way, contributed to Dave Campbell's Texas Basketball. I know you're hard at work on that too, right?
Yeah, I just finished it. Just sent it over. So I hope y'all love it. And I know there's nothing wrong in the 4,000 words that I.
It's all perfect. We've already checked it over, gave it a once over. Absolutely perfect. Matthew Brune, appreciate your time, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
There you go. Matthew Brune, host of The Green Room on the Republic Football Podcast Network. If you want your fix of North Texas, it's him and Colin Mitchell who give you the North Texas scoop. A much happier episode this week.
Yeah,
much
no
happier. Yeah. How are you feeling, noted North Texas
Man,
stan?
Okay, let me preface it with it is very good to get a win. It was a much-needed win. A win is a win. You put it in the win column. They looked so good at the very beginning of that game. I watched the whole first half. It looked great. I was feeling good. I felt like, okay, the rest is off. We found the answer at quarterback, and then they found a way to almost give it away. So in typical fashion, they almost broke my heart. But that being said, a win is a win. Carry that momentum going, and let's see if we can just go out there and get like a good win now.
Open Date and then Abilene Christian, which, Brune mentioned it. They're not bad.
No.
Abilene Christian's. This is not a pushover.
Right.
But I mean, I look at their schedule. Abilene Christian, Navy, and Temple. You should at worst be 3-3 after these next 3 games. Like really, you should be. You should win 2 of those because I do not think Navy's all that good.
No.
I do not think Temple's all that good.
No.
And then Abilene Christian. Those are 3 winnable games.
Yeah.
And if you have any hopes of a bowl game, right? And he's right. The FIU game's a killer.
Oh, yeah.
If you have any hopes of a bowl game, knowing he's right, that stretch of Memphis, UTSA, Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and SMU, that's brutal. But you finish at Tulsa and against UAB. Those are 2 winnable games.
Yeah.
Bowl eligibility is there, even without a surprise. I think if you play to your paper, you've got an opportunity to make a bowl here. But that defense has got to be better.
I'm very interested to see what a crowd looks like at home against ACU because you are coming off of technically a win.
It's a Saturday night.
It's a Saturday night game in Denton, but the last time that fans were in that stands, you got absolutely clobbered by Cal. And ACU is not necessarily a super flashy opponent when it comes to getting butts in stands. So really interested to see what the crowd looks like there for North Texas.
Anyway, we appreciate Matthew Brune. Listen to his fine work on The Green Room on the Republic Football Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.